why we still have not cloned humans, and it's not just ethics. We know we've cloned Dolly and Molly, the sheep, and China has recently told us a few years ago that they've cloned primates, monkeys, which are considered to be very difficult to do. And what happens when we clone humans? Human cloning may endure as one of the go-to science fiction tropes, but in reality we may be much closer to achieving it than our fictional heroes might imply. At least in terms of science required, one of the most prominent hurdles facing us may have less to do with the process and more to do with its consequences and our cognitive struggle to reconcile the ethics involved. And that being said, while science has come a long way in the last century when it comes to cloning a menagerie of animals, cloning humans and other primates has actually proven to be incredibly difficult. Now, I don't know how much we can rely on the facts coming out from China as to what they're doing with medical research. For example, the primates, the monkeys that they cloned, the macaque monkeys. Now, cloning humans and other primates proven to be difficult. While we might not be on the brink of cloning entire human beings, we're probably capable of cloning human cells. The question is, should we? The complex concept of cloning boils down to a fairly simple, in theory, a simple practice. You need two cells from the same animal, one of which is an egg cell from which you remove the DNA. Then you take the DNA from the other somatic cell, put it inside the devoid of DNA egg cell, and whatever that egg cell goes on to produce for offspring will be genetically identical to the parent cell. Now, while human reproduction is a result of joining of two cells, one from each parent, each with their own DNA, the cellular photocopy technique does not occur in nature. Bacteria reproduce through binary fission, and each time it divides, its DNA is divided too, so that each new bacterium is genetically identical to its predecessor. Except sometimes mutations occur in this process, and in fact that can be the design and function as a survival mechanism. This mutation allows bacteria, for example, to become resistant to antibiotics bent on destroying them. And on the other hand, some mutations are fatal to the organism or preclude them coming into existence at all. And while it might seem like the picking and choosing that's inherent to cloning could sidestep these potential genetic hiccups, scientists have found that it's not necessarily the case. Now, what experts say? While Dolly the sheep might be the most famous mammal science has ever cloned, she's by no means the only one. Scientists have also cloned mice, cats, and several types of livestock in addition to sheep. The cloning of cows has in recent years proved a great deal of knowledge to scientists, provided knowledge to scientists about why the process does not work. Everything from implantation failure to those affirmation of mutations, even to abnormalities coming out that render offspring unable to survive. Harris Lewin, professor for the UC Davis Department of Evolution and Ecology, and his team published their findings on the impact cloning has on gene expression in the journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences back in 2016. In that study's press release, Lewin noted that the findings were certainly invaluable to refining cloning techniques in mammals, but that their discoveries also reinforced the need for a strict ban on human cloning for any purpose. Now, we know last year there was a Chinese scientist that said that he had cloned two twin girls, and we don't know what happened to that, if that was true or not. Did he have the permit to do that or not? Anyway, going on with this, I think no one realized how hard cloning would be in some species, though relatively easy in others. Cats, easy. Dogs, hard. Mice, easy. Rats, hard. Humans and other primates, very hard, even though the Chinese claim that the macaque monkeys have been cloned. They said they cloned them in order to research sleep disorders, if anyone could believe that. Now, the cloning of human cells may be a far more immediate application for humans. Researchers call it therapeutic cloning and differentiate it from traditional cloning that has reproductive intent. In 2014, researchers created human stem cells through the same cloning technique that generated Dolly the sheep. Because stem cells can differentiate to become any kind of cell in the body, they could be utilized for a wide variety of purposes when it comes to treating disease, especially genetic diseases or diseases where a patient would require transplant from an often elusive perfect match donor, like an eye or a heart or a kidney or something. This potential application is already well underway. Earlier this year, a woman in Japan suffered from age-related macular degeneration. She was treated with induced pluripotent stem cells, that's iPS cells, created from her own skin cells, which were then implanted into her retinas and stopped her vision from degenerating further. And when asked to predict when, the scientists were asked to predict when they think they'll be able to successfully clone a full human, the majority of those who responded agree that it feels like we're getting close. Nearly 30% predicted we'll clone our first human by this decade, the 2020s. They said we have replaced and replicated almost every biology on Earth. This is what Alicia Laskowska said. She says the next step is for cures, and to do that we need clean DNA, and there's your start. Now, some scientists say technically it's not difficult to produce a clone embryo, but human cloning has other hurdles that need to be considered. They're going to hurt the baby, they're going to hurt the person carrying the cloned fetus, and the problem with therapeutic cloning, of course, is that you need a lab personnel that's qualified to do it, specific equipment to do it, whereas the other technique, you can just buy a kit and one person can do it in a lab, and that has some expertise in tissue culture. Scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could do such a thing, they didn't stop to think if they should. Now, and I'll leave links below for you for this on Business Insider and Futurism. And obviously, we don't really need to clone humans because of the fact that the normal way of reproducing humans is so perfect anyway. But there are those who believe that they can somehow achieve immortality by cloning themselves to the point that they will never cease to exist. I mean, that brings another whole Pandora's box of legal issues. But the thing is, we know that even with the sheeps Dolly and Molly, they were not of high quality. In other words, every time you clone the same individual, the same animal, it's not the perfect grade of the quality that you had to begin with, of the original organism. Please tell me what you think. And obviously, they do believe that this decade will be the decade where humans will be cloned. That's another ethical issue. Should we be cloning humans? If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.